Hello.
Hey, hi everyone. Good afternoon. How are you? Are you okay? What a nice first day, right? In the Avalanche Summit, it's a nice place to be. So I'm glad to welcome you all to the role of AI in the next era of gaming. My name is Carmen. I'll be moderating and hosting this panel for you. And I'll start with some facts. Artificial intelligence is no longer a futuristic concept, is it? But it's an active force shaping how games are built, played, and experienced every day by millions of users worldwide. We're experiencing rapid advancements in generative AI, machine learning, real-time decision engines that are transforming user engagement and gameplay personalization. Now, at the blockchain layer, that's why we're here. In this panel, we will talk about the convergence of Web3, AI, and gaming. Today, I have leaders from 4 pioneering companies who are actively building the future of gaming with AI at the core. I will ask for an applause for all of them, and now I will introduce them. First of all, Michael O'Connor. Hi, how are you?
I'm very good. Great to be here.
Michael, you're the co-founder and CEO of Youmio, a platform that empowers users to create intelligent 3D agents for games and virtual worlds. With a strong background at companies like Sports Interactive and Nintendo, he's leading innovation at the intersection of AI, gaming, and blockchain. Next up, we have Matthew Buxton. Hello, how are you?
Fantastic.
Matthew is the CCO and co-founder at Warp, with nearly 2 decades of experience in gaming, tech development, and operations. He's an expert in integrating AI into dynamic gaming systems that adapt into real-time player behavior. Wow. Up next, Marty Burgess. So happy to have you here. Marty is an experienced game developer specializing in free-to-play and multiplayer experiences. As a co-founder and CEO of Lightning Forge Games, he's pushing the limits of player-driven creativity through blockchain and AI. And last but not least, Nick. He's a lifelong game designer who has worked in every field of gaming, having designed talents for Survivor, created the newest version of the board game Jumanji, and recently starred in Hulu's new game show, Got to Get Out. Woo! As a founder of WinWin, he's pioneering tokenomics for the next era of gaming. Oh my God, we have such a great panel here. And I want to start with an opening question for you all. In one sentence, how would you describe the role AI is already playing in your current projects? I'll start with you, Michael.
AI is absolutely central to what we do. We've been an AI company from the outset. 3 years we've been doing this, and we're a company that makes AI characters. So we work with LLMs a lot. Our background is working with teams like DeepMind and NVIDIA. And what we think is that, we think that there's an enormous opportunity for the democratization of creativity with AI. And we are offering a solution to that through the characters that you interface with in Youmio. So this is a long one sentence, actually. So listen, we're big on AI.
Great.
Yeah, so essentially as a publisher, our role is to assist games with all the potential tools that they need. So we have AI baked into many different things, from agents to live operations platforms to automation to part of the arts processes, design processes that they could need. So it's absolutely integral into what games will need. Therefore, we have it.
Amazing. Marty?
Hope this works. Hey. So for us at LFG, without AI, LFG just literally wouldn't exist. AI, our core thesis is what happens when you bake AI into the core loop of a game experience, and what can you actually create that couldn't be done without the use of AI. So we've actually developed what we call LFG agents, which are human or AI-powered players that look, feel, and game just like a human, to the extent that real players can't tell the difference. And it opens up this incredible world of creativity, of new innovations, of tokenomics, and hopefully of some really fun, innovative design.
Hey, everyone. So I'm a lifelong game designer and game player. And my background is non-technical. So I don't actually know how to code. I've scripted a little bit. But AI is super important to me because it now allows me to actually make the games that I've been dreaming of for a really long time. And this is a huge change because now I'm in the industry, and this is a really big deal. We're also doing something pretty interesting with the game that I'm building right now. We want this game to be botted. We are designing it so that you can plug in your AI agent or whatever ecosystem it's from so that it can play the game for you. And we're going to see who's better, humans or agents. I don't actually know the answer, but we're going to find out.
Oh my God, wow. Now I would like to talk about real-world use cases. I mean, you're all building amazing products right now, and I want to talk about your experiences as players and also as founders. So I'll start with you, Nick. You have, as you said, a huge background in game design and tokenomics. How do you envision AI enhancing tokenomics in the gaming space, specifically in terms of live ops and game economics?
Sure. So I've been running Win-Win for the past several years as a game tokenomics designer. I feel like AI is going to be important for a lot of areas in game design. Tokenomics specifically, I'm actually not so sure. So the design of the token should probably be specific to each individual game or ecosystem. Frankly, if you're thinking about like liquidity provisioning, I would send you to something like a protocol called Baseline. That's really, really good, and they have used some elements of AI to provision for different types of liquidity. Using it in a game economy, I feel like that's already been happening as well in Web 2 formats too. So I think that's just going to accelerate it. I think AI is going to be incredibly useful in live ops though. Live ops as well as liquidity or player liquidity management. So allowing lots of players to be in the ecosystem all at the exact same time, as well as keeping players super interested and right in that flow state, below frustration but above boredom. So I think that's kind of what you're going to talk about as well.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, talking about enhancing players' experience. Warp uses AI to create dynamic gaming systems. So can you share a specific moment of your life or in Warp where AIs, I was looking at you, where AI significantly changed the way the game responded to player behavior, and how was the impact on player experience?
So I believe this was one of the things that we were sort of talking about, that Warp is currently making games. So essentially, when we're looking at the impact that AI is having right now on that, it's very difficult to judge. But what we can already see is that we've been using AI in a very brute force, LLM sense since God knows when, since Speed Tree, since doing all of the bots in all of these games. And essentially, I think the first time that you notice that AI is performing in a good way and it's actually a fun experience is something as far back as like Time Splitters 2, when the bots were actually decent. We've seen everyone just craps on bots for being terrible, and they have been, because essentially you would just use the same solutions as everyone else. But the first time that you could actually have a fully multiplayer game and have players that are bots running around and shooting and doing that, that was massive. And we didn't have that at all in the games industry. You just couldn't do that. And just the advent of that, and now what we're building on top of that, with the ability to then talk to these AIs, with them to do things like, if they like you, they'll give you quests. If they don't like you, they won't. Generating on-chain personas for this, so that games companies can actually bring those personas to their games and pick up and play all of these things. I think that's going to change massively. But I don't think we're actually too far away from having full games generated, like full proper AAA games. In the next 2 years or so, there will be a content platform where people will just put in a prompt and out will come a game. And I think that's why Web3 is a great hedge against that, because if someone can make GTA 6 and then you can have about 300,000 GTA 6 clones or parts of it done with AI in seconds, and then the only thing that sort of makes it real is this kind of routing in blockchain, which is then routed to an economy, which is then verified, legally set up, and has all of that sort of stuff. So I think the change has been massive for when no AI to now, but the change again will be even bigger. So that's what I have to say on that.
Yeah, Michael, now yes, sorry. How do you envision the agents specifically? You're leading Youmio in the agentic era. How do you envision agents transforming this player interaction Matthew was just talking about?
Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, I've always been a simulation gamer. I've played a lot and made a lot of simulation games in my time, and the addition of smart agents into these games is a total game changer. The ability to connect to NPCs, like to kind of become mates with them, is going to have a revolutionary effect. We've noticed that you can see this broadly within AI. You know, last year the biggest use case for like ChatGPT was a lot of people using it as a search replacement. Whereas this year, it's more common that people are using it as like a personal assistant or a therapist. People say thank you to, you know, they inform them about.
I do.
Exactly, yeah. So this is really common. And when we think of the impact on that inside of virtual worlds, it becomes really profound because people are already using virtual worlds as a place to hang out with their mates as much as they are to play, you know. So, yeah, I think that character-driven experiences, there's a profound change coming, and it's deeply exciting. The other thing I'll say is, which I think is a little bit touching on some of the tooling of this, which is particularly interesting, that there's a cost of software manufacturing is trending towards zero. People are, I think, 30-40% of Microsoft, Google, and folks like that are the engineering is by AI. That's going to increase, you know. So the ability for, like it's kind of shocking in one way, but it's also really liberating that people are going to be able to create all manner of amazing things. And if the cost of manufacturing is trending to zero, then all of a sudden the competition ground becomes distribution. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to hear you, Marty, here as how are you anticipating these challenges in the development phase of Lightning 4 games in balancing player autonomy with AI-driven systems?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And it's actually really interesting what like Matt was saying, how we've had bots for a very long time, but it's that human element that's sort of been lacking in these experiences. And obviously a very obvious example of that is, the NPC that you can relate to, that has a backstory, that, if you say please and thank you, it actually cares about that. We sort of look at it and taking that one step further, where what actually happens if you take all the data we have from every single player in all of our games and actually use that as the training data for our actual LFG agents. So everyone will actually own their own agent, which is based on your particular playstyle, your mannerisms, to the extent that your friends and your opponents shouldn't be able to tell the difference. We're not trying to build the best bots. We're not trying to build the best agents. We're trying to build the most human agents, which is such a key differentiator, I think. It's what we're actually trying to create. Because humans make mistakes. Humans will miss a critical shot in a tense match. Humans will, go left when they should go right. They'll make mistakes. It's very, to err is human. And I think the perfect AI agent should replicate that true human experience. And for us, that's been one of the biggest challenges of what we're actually trying to build, because it's very, very easy to make a bot or an agent which is good or bad in very arbitrary terms. Making one that feels is such a, as you said, is such a key part. And we're seeing a lot of different agentic systems all coming together, whether it's playstyle, whether it's mannerisms, whether it's the ability to talk through an LLM, whether it's, some form of like emotion system, whether it's the ability to understand, say, trade or secondary markets, or understand its place in a tokenomic system. Bringing all these things together, which is exactly what we're doing with LFG agents, and then making that available to other studios to build with, we think that's really the future of where this is going to open up incredible possibilities for new, innovative forms of gameplay.
We're talking about the future, and what is the future without trends? Things that happen, that get thousands of likes, people start playing something and create content and everything. What are the trends that you think or that you're most excited about for the next 2-3 years in AI and or gaming? I will let any of you answer.
I'm going to start this one just to go off of what you guys have been talking about already. I think, so the three of them have all been in the Web 2 video game industry for a very long time. And one of the things that we've all noticed on this panel is that the industry is shifting drastically in like unimaginable ways, and AI is going to accelerate the shifts that are already happening. One of the biggest ones being the supply of games is drastically increasing, and discoverability is getting very hard too. And so how do you cause games to exist and continue to live on over time, I think you need really strong retention, really great FTUI, as well as really great player liquidity as well. And that's what everybody's been saying up here is we're going to create agents that can look and feel like humans so that you personally, maybe you like a niche topic, a niche subject, you can still play those games and have it feel that you're like playing with real people. And I think that's a really big trend that we're going to start seeing, especially as we're going to get drowned in content in the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah, discoverability, oversaturation in the gaming space is a very real problem. I don't know what the number is for Steam releases this year, but it would be in the tens of thousands, I would say, at least.
Yeah, it was 23K last year.
Yeah, cool. It's absolutely insane. To try and break through that is incredible. And especially depending on the style of experience you're trying to create. If you're trying to build a 100-player battle royale, the number of concurrent users you need to have online at any given time to actually have a positive experience is mind-blowing. We're talking in the tens of thousands of concurrent users in the same region at the same time playing the same game mode, which is crazy. One of the huge benefits we see of things like, we call them LFG agents. I'm sure you guys have a different name for them, AI agents in whatever flavor they happen to be. It opens up this incredible design space where we can turn around to a partner project and go, right, how many players do you want online on day one? How long do you want your maximum queue time to be for a certain game mode or a certain match? It really does open up this just crazy design space for us, right through to the extreme where we consider ourselves pioneering AFK and play, where you can have your agents playing while you're offline. And there might be a tournament at 2 o'clock in the morning that you really want to play. Cool, you set up your agents, tell them what to do. You get to go to bed. You wake up in the morning to the results, to replays, and hopefully to some prizes. It really does just create a world of possibilities. But it really, you say you've worked in this space for a long time. I had a full head of hair when we started. Don't get into gaming if you like money or hair. You'll get there.
It definitely. I'm still happy I got my hair after 41, but it's about 470 crypto years in crypto terms because everything moves faster in crypto. This is one of the things I find interesting is that we talk about trends in crypto. We're talking about like what happened last week for 3 days that made like 400 million for one guy. And then saying that as if it's an industry thing. But in general, life is speeding up. And I think it's actually people are using AI to slow life down and make that more understandable. People are asking for summaries on topics like Grok. As it was introduced to X, it's kind of like any other LLM. It's a little bit crappy, but then it became such a fad very recently to say, okay, Grok, what does this mean? Or ask Grok.
Grok, is this real?
Yeah, Grok, is this real? And invariably Grok says, no, it's not, it's all crap. And then people get angry with Grok. And I think, it's at this point that we need to understand that there is no such thing as an absolute truth now. There's no such thing as an absolute opinion. There's no consensus. So the role of AI and what that's going to do in terms of games and surrounding yourselves with like-minded players for a smaller community, there's so much that can happen, right? And I think AIs as friends, companions, and avatars, it's going to be big. Like the dream of this metaverse, it's not going to be able to happen with 100% real people all the time. I think there will be a point, and I see the trend that agents which are currently just earning money and doing those things and speaking on X, if they can then play games, you are going to get a pseudo-sentient entity that has its own wallet, has its own mixture of friends that's AI and real, can play several games, and can look like a character from Youmio, and can have a personality based on a famous player, So I think we're actually going to see through the creation of Web3, which is financializing something digital, and RWAs are going to make AI become real. So if you look at RWA, AI, agentic questing, earning, and actually avatars as one system of creating potentially a pseudo AI community that can potentially earn and spend in games. We could see in the next couple of years, yes, we're going to be drowned in content, but we could have a new brand of real players that can't exceed certain thresholds that can earn money from multiple projects around and actually a new economy that's purely digital but can react with the rest of the world through RWAs. So I believe we're going to, in the next, say, 5 years, as a trend, see the birth of a new type of entity.
Grok, can you vibe code that for me just now?
And yes, it can.
I'm gonna counter that really quickly. So I think it's because of those reasons that play to earn is toast.
Agreed.
Yeah, you won't be able to make a sustainable in-game economy where you're giving out free value when there are agents running around. It's not going to happen.
Play to earn as we know it today is dead.
Yeah, exactly that.
AFK and earn, now that's interesting.
And the game that I'm making as well, I think there are ways to earn in the game, but at the same time, it's not like you're just going to be getting a bunch of free stuff. You are paying in to the game, to the start.
Exactly. I mean, this is really critical. It's like Warp as a publisher, we don't publish games that use the existing models. We only pick outliers. We only pick like fantastic games like Sarge Universe sitting there in his drip, like that do something different, like create a social network for their game or create something special. Like, the paradigm is shifting so fast, you cannot just bet on something just being big because of its IP or big because of the raise. You have to look outside of the box because this is what's going to happen. Everything will speed up fast. Content will be able to be created faster. And games are going to struggle to stay ahead. When vibe coding becomes more like real games in minutes, and those games are of higher quality than what you can produce with a team, even a very, very good team, when that happens, you're going to need like non-existent people to play those games and to manage to earn money digitally, and they're going to need to be within a rule set where that's possible for this to even be in any way sustainable. And then at that point, is it even real? Is it a simulation?
It's all a simulation, yeah. It's a tough one to answer the question about where the trends that are the most exciting because, we all know crypto moves really fast, but AI is a steamroller. And if for the folks who are following AI, I'm sure there's lots in this room, it feels like every couple of weeks something magic happens. And yeah, that's going to exponentially increase, which is like terrifying and exciting, especially as a builder. You have to make predictions about what to build, but the truth is that the whole nature of software development is, you use the term paradigm shift, it's all changing. Right now, I mean, it's only November, I think it was, where MCPs came out. MCPs give agents the ability to interact almost with any software. So you can use an MCP for Blender, for example, and describe, what kind of 3D model you want, and it will build a 3D model. So that's a trend that's particularly interesting. It means that we're co-inhabiting the internet, really, with these agents. And of course, we're co-inhabiting all of these game worlds as well. So, but yeah, I mean, one of the trends that's really exciting for me at the moment is MCPs, and these beings that are co-inhabiting these game worlds with us, the ability for them to be able to do all manner of things online from the game worlds is a far out concept.
I mean, it's making Ghost in the Shell become a documentary. I don't know if anyone's seen that. It will be a documentary at some point as well. If you look at like the rise of med tech, if you look at all of this kind of stuff, like imagine that people start getting these chips because AI is so relevant, and so to compete, you would actually have to upgrade yourself as a person. Now imagine someone like Elon Musk has control over those chips. Imagine if a virus or another entity gets into those. Like, we are entering, like, in the next 10, 20 years, things that are science fiction are fast becoming plausible, at least.
That's the next Black Mirror chapter, I mean.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw one more trend in there. It's not necessarily microchips in the bloodstream, but it is very much, I think, because of the shift in supply of games rising, I think you get a shift in funding as well. I used to be a VC. I think you start seeing a commoditization of gaming content in general, similar to what is happening in both Hollywood as well as music. And I think as a result, you start to see different shifts in what gets funded and how those funding patterns come about. So I would guess that VC funding probably comes down. 1, 2, 3 person teams probably start getting funded more. But they are funded more on like a revenue sharing model for upside, and time to market is much drastically reduced. So we're talking 6 months instead of 3 years. And you probably start seeing a lot more like gray box style games rather than fully fleshed out concepts, proving that community is excited about the game so that you can then scale up and put more chips on the table for it.
I would like to talk about something that everyone has faced with AI. You're talking about trends, things that go famous for 3 minutes and then leave, and humans and bots, ethical questions. I mean, how do you ensure that AI is being used responsibly in all your projects?
Well, I mean, it's relatively simple to ensure that it's being used responsibly in things you control. It's really about how much control others have afterwards and what they do with it. You're always faced with the content problem, like the moderation problem. Like that moderation problem is never going to go away, and it depends on the regulation as who is responsible for the moderation. Like, let's just say there's an image generator online. If you can create heinous images of celebrities or people you know, obviously that's offensive, but who shares that responsibility? Is it the person who would have never done it without the tool to do it? Or is it the person who allowed them the tool to do it? And if you look at, say, how the Americans regulate, guns are innocent, people are guilty. But if you look at how the Europeans regulate, guns are guilty and people shouldn't be given the power of God. So it's crazy. And I think it's a very, very thin and gray line generally.
The other side of this as well, though, just comes down to the actual ownership of models, ownership of data that is being generated. In all of our examples, we're talking about, building AI systems, whether they're, 3D models, agentic agents. And what it comes down to is, are we all trying to be the next, say, FANG? Or are we actually willing to put the actual true ownership of the training data and the models themselves in the hands of the players, hands of the communities?
100%.
We're a big advocate for that. Everything we're doing is owned by our community, owned by the people that actually generate and own that data. But this is a very unregulated space, very similar in some ways to crypto. And we feel we're probably going to be the exception, not the rule, unfortunately, because we know in the digital era, the true value in a lot of the products we create is actually in the data that we collect. Companies with 20 million, daily active users don't get acquired because they have an amazing platform for whatever it happens to be. They get acquired because somewhere in their back end is a database with 20 million email addresses.
Exactly. But then what happens when those email addresses are for bots? And does it matter? If those bots are making money and have money to spend, does it matter?
Well, the problem is an email address, you can't associate anything to an email address and actually go, okay, this is a real person or a fake person. But a wallet, now we've actually got a digital history. Now we can see a history of transactions on chain in a verifiable manner. And now we can actually assign weight and value to that particular wallet address, whereas we can't do that with traditional forms such as an email address.
I'm afraid we're running out of time, but I don't want to close without a closing stance from each of you, from your experience, a piece of advice or a thought for every player, developer, or anyone in the industry that has to face now that AI is a fact that is coming bigger and bigger every day. One sentence. Who wants to start?
AI is coming. You can't avoid it. Get used to it. And all hail Skynet.
Don't ignore it. And hope that you get into the Gundam before someone else does. And hope that your Neuralink doesn't get possessed by a bad AI.
I think my advice would be liberate yourself for the next generation, the agentic era, by learning how to use the tools as fast as possible, because they're going to become standard.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that one as well. It's a creator's paintbrush. Learn how to use it and create the thing of your dreams.
Don't forget to say thank you to ChatGPT.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.